Hey friend, please subscribe. 1 second for you. Big deal for me.
I didn't know it then, but keeping my promotion quiet might have saved me. My name is Darren. I'm 38 years old, and I live in Independence, Missouri. I've worked at the same auto shop for nearly 15 years. A few months ago, I became the manager. Better pay, better hours, more stress. But it was a win. Only I didn't tell my wife. I came home that afternoon still wearing my coveralls. Habit, I guess. The promotion had just gone through that morning. My boss shook my hand, gave me a key to the office, and told me he trusted me. I should have been proud walking through that door. I should have been excited to share the news. Instead, I said, "They let me go." She was sitting at the kitchen table, scrolling on her phone. She didn't even look up. "Wow," she said flatly. "Maybe if you weren't so damn difficult to work with." That was it. No pause, no worry in her voice, no questions. Just that. I stood there like an idiot, half expecting her to jump up and say, "Wait, are you serious?" I had imagined a hug, or even just a sympathetic look. But she didn't move. She sipped her drink and went back to her screen like I was just background noise. For a second, I actually wondered if I had said it wrong, like maybe she didn't hear me. But then she sighed and said, "You'll have to cancel the gym. We can't afford extra stuff now." Still no eye contact. The silence dragged until I finally turned and went to our room. I sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the wall, trying to make sense of the whole thing. I'd rehearsed that lie on the drive home, told myself it was just temporary. I just needed a minute to think, to get my head right. But now, I wasn't sure why I had done it at all. Truth is, I wasn't laid off. I got promoted. New title, more responsibility, a bonus coming in December, and I didn't tell her. Maybe some part of me already knew something wasn't right. Maybe I needed to know how she'd react if I wasn't useful, if I wasn't paying all the bills. And now I had my answer. I heard her laugh once from the kitchen, something on her phone, then go quiet again. I took off my boots, laid back on the bed, and stared at the ceiling. She didn't think I was down. She was counting on it. That night, she moved to the guest room and said she needed space. No argument, no explanation. Just grabbed her pillow and a phone charger and walked out like it was the most normal thing in the world. I sat there on the edge of the bed, staring at the open door. It squeaked a little when it closed. It always had. But she didn't stop to fix it like she usually did. I waited a few minutes, thinking maybe she'd come back and say something more. Nothing. The silence felt louder than anything. I laid down, fully clothed, and just stared at the ceiling. My mind was buzzing, but my body was heavy, like all the weight of the day finally caught up at once. The next morning, she was already up. Makeup done? Hair straightened? Sipping coffee like she hadn't just moved out of our bedroom without blinking. I watched her from the hallway. "I have a client meeting," she said, brushing past me without even looking. She worked in real estate, mostly listings on the west side of town. The market had been good lately, but she'd been acting like she was drowning in stress, always checking her phone, stepping outside to take calls she claimed were urgent, but never mentioned who they were from. That day, something shifted in me. I didn't follow her or question her. I just watched. I noticed things I hadn't been paying attention to. The way she typed fast and immediately flipped her phone over when I walked in. The way her smile only came out when she was texting. The way she never mentioned tomorrow anymore. Or next week. Or next year. Just later. A couple days after she moved into the guest room, I came home early and heard her talking in a low voice behind the closed door. I wasn't trying to spy. I was just walking down the hall, and then I heard her say, "He still thinks we're good." It stopped me cold. I should have opened the door, should have walked in and said, "Who the hell are you talking to?" But I didn't. My hand was on the doorknob. I even turned it slightly. But something in me hesitated. Maybe I didn't want to know yet. Maybe I wasn't ready. Instead, I stood there for a minute, heart racing, and then backed away quietly. That night, I watched her phone light up 3 times in a row. Same name each time, just initials, MW. I asked who that was. She said it was someone from the office, someone helping with staging. I nodded, but the way she said it didn't sit right. Her tone was too smooth, practiced. The next day, I looked up every person in her agency. No one with those initials, not even close. So I started checking the little things. Not snooping, just observing. She had a separate bank account. I knew that already. But I didn't know she'd started withdrawing small amounts from our joint account and transferring them to hers every few days. Not big amounts, just under $200 at a time. Like she thought I wouldn't notice. She also started putting her phone face down at dinner. And she suddenly cared a whole lot more about what she wore, even when she was just going to a listing. I watched it all pile up. The lies, the distance, the quiet indifference. And I realized something I hadn't wanted to admit. She wasn't just tired. She wasn't just stressed. She was waiting for something, or someone. And whatever plan she was making, she thought I was too clueless to see it. She thought wrong. A week later, I stayed home pretending to job hunt. I left a few empty coffee mugs out, stacked some fake resumes on the kitchen table, even turned on the desktop computer for show. She was supposed to think I was desperate and floundering, a man with no direction, no income, no clue. She didn't even look twice before heading out. Once I heard the door shut behind her, I grabbed my coffee and headed out to the garage. I needed quiet. I needed to think. Lately, I'd been sitting out there more, not fixing anything, just sitting on the workbench, letting the cold concrete calm me down. That afternoon was quiet. Then, about 2 hours in, the front door opened again. I froze. A second voice followed, older, sharper. Her mom. I ducked behind the shelving unit next to the water heater. From there, I could hear everything through the thin vent that led to the kitchen. They were laughing. Like, really laughing. Like it was a holiday or some girl's night out. "Finally," my wife said between giggles. "He told me. No savings, no plan. Not a dime to his name." My heart thudded once, then again. That stupid lie was coming back around like a boomerang. Her mom gasped, fake sweet. "Perfect. Then we push the house sale now. He won't fight it, he can't." "Exactly," my wife said, sounding proud. "He'll probably think I'm doing him a favor." I had to steady myself with one hand against the tool cabinet. Then she kept talking. "I just need to get the papers moving. Melissa already said the baby's got everything set up at the new place." Her mom chuckled. "So once this is done, you and Melissa can stop sneaking around. Honestly, you've waited long enough." I didn't breathe. I didn't blink. Melissa. Melissa. I hadn't heard that name in over a year. She was my wife's old friend. They worked together at a rental staging company, but she left town around the same time my wife started acting distant. She was quiet, polite, never said much. Just faded out of our lives like a background character in someone else's movie. And now, there was a baby. The baby's got everything set up at the new place. Not our baby. The baby. They kept talking, low voices, mostly about logistics. "We'll tell him we're listing the house to downsize. Make it seem like a mutual decision. Just act supportive, it'll be easier that way." Eventually, they moved to the living room. I stayed behind the shelf, heart thudding so loud I was scared it'd echo through the vents. They weren't just planning to leave me. They were setting up my replacement. They had it all figured out. A new house, a new life, a kid, and a partner, not me, who apparently already existed and had been living in the margins while I played the fool. When they finally left, probably for lunch or a showing, I stayed in the garage another full hour, just staring at the floor. I wanted to scream, punch the wall, burn something down, but I didn't. I sat there, fists clenched in my lap, and thought about everything I'd heard. Every word, every smug laugh, every sick little detail. They thought I had no savings, no plan, no idea. They thought I'd just sign the papers, sell the house, and disappear into some sad little apartment like a good, broke, dumped husband. They thought they could erase me. I looked around the garage, at the tools, the receipts pinned to the wall, the copies of the house deed I kept filed in a metal box next to the paint cans. They thought wrong. A couple days after I overheard them, Melissa showed up. She pulled into our driveway like it was the most natural thing in the world. Same silver SUV I remembered from back when she used to hang around the house, back when she still wore work polos and said things like, "I'll be out of your hair in a sec." Only this time, she stayed. I watched from the upstairs window through the smallest slit in the curtain. My wife met her at the door like she'd been waiting. No hugs, no greetings, just a long look between them before they stepped inside. That told me more than any conversation could have. I didn't go downstairs. I didn't need to. The walls in this house were thin, especially the living room walls. I sat at the top of the stairs where the air vent carried everything up clear as a bell. "She's sleeping longer now," Melissa said, her voice softer than I remembered. "2 naps, and she eats more than I do." My wife laughed. "You're a natural." "Not really," Melissa said. "Just figuring it out." There was a pause, then the sound of a mug being set down. "I still can't believe we're doing this," Melissa whispered. "We're doing it," my wife said, firm. "We've come too far to stop now." "Are you sure he'll go quietly?" Melissa asked. Then came the voice I'd grown to hate. My wife, steady and smug. "He'll fold. He's got nothing." My jaw clenched. I don't know what hurt worse. The fact that they were planning my exit like I was a tenant up for eviction, or that Melissa had a baby my wife had helped prepare for. The kid wasn't mine. Never was. I did the math in my head, counted backwards. It lined up. Right around when Melissa moved away, my wife suddenly started working late, showing up with different clothes in the laundry, stuff I never saw her wear out of the house. I felt sick. Downstairs, her mom joined the conversation. I could hear her shoes, those stiff, clicking pumps she wore like a badge of authority. "Once he's gone," she said, settling in like she ran the place, "you and Melissa can finally start your life. Properly. No hiding." "I just want it over with," my wife muttered. "I want the papers signed, the house sold, and his name off everything." I smiled for the first time in days. Because what they didn't know, my name wasn't on everything. It was engraved into it. I had the pay stubs tucked in the bottom drawer of my workbench. Every promotion, every bonus. I had receipts for the new roof, the kitchen remodel, the foundation work, all under my name. I'd signed the contractor deals, pulled the permits, cut the checks, and the house, that was the best part. She thought she could just push a sale and I'd roll over, but she must have forgotten one little detail. When her credit was shot 5 years ago, I refinanced the mortgage under my name alone. She wasn't even on the deed anymore. So while they laughed and plotted and swapped stories about nursery paint, I sat in silence, my fingers wrapped tight around the baluster, and waited. Waited until they left. Waited until the front door clicked and the SUV backed out again. Then I went into the garage and opened the metal file box. I pulled out the documents one by one, the notarized refinance, the stamped permit for the deck expansion, the receipts from Home Depot, Lowe's, and the local guys who did the windows. It wasn't about the money anymore. It was about the facts, the trail, the foundation. I wasn't just some guy they could toss out. I had roots here, legal roots, paper roots. They thought I had nothing, that I'd fold. They were about to learn I wasn't bluffing. That night she lit candles, real ones, the tall kind we only pulled out for holidays and fake anniversaries. She had 2 bottles of craft beer on the table, a little bowl of peanuts, and a playlist going low in the background. It was almost laughable, the way she tried to make it all look gentle, like the mood would soften the blow. I walked in, acting clueless, my work jacket still half-zipped. She smiled like she'd rehearsed it. "Hey, thought we could talk." "Sure," I said, playing dumb, shrugging like I didn't know where this was going. We sat. She handed me a beer like it was a peace offering. I cracked it open, took a sip, waited. "I've been thinking," she started, all slow and tender, like a guidance counselor delivering bad news. "About us." I nodded, stared at the label on the bottle. She kept going. "I know things have been hard since, well, everything, and I think maybe we've just drifted." She even tilted her head when she said it, like she was trying to look thoughtful instead of calculating. "I mean, I care about you," she added quickly, like that might make it land softer. "But maybe we've reached that point where we're holding each other back." I blinked slowly. Okay. She seemed surprised I wasn't already breaking down. She cleared her throat and pushed a folded check across the table. I want to help you start over, she said. You've been through a lot. I know you said you don't have savings, so... I picked up the check. $10,000. $10,000. It almost made me laugh out loud. She thought that would do it. Buy me out of my own life. 10 grand and a couple sad candles, and she thought I'd walk out like a grateful stray she was finally setting free. That's generous, I said, voice small, like I was overwhelmed. I even let my eyes go soft, like I might cry. You really don't have to. I want to, she interrupted, reaching across the table to touch my hand. You deserve a fresh start. I gave her a long look. So, what happens now? Well, she said, exhaling like this was just so hard for her. We start talking about the house. Maybe we list it. I already reached out to a couple realtors just to get a sense of things. But nothing's final. We'll figure it out. Together. Together. Right. I nodded. Yeah, okay. I'll think about it. That line, I'll think about it, was the only honest thing I said all night. Not because I was considering her offer, but because I was already thinking about something else. I was already dialing Tony Delgado in my head. I let her think she won. That she had delivered the breakup with grace. That I was too stunned to argue. She smiled with soft eyes and told me I could sleep in the main room. Just until I figure out where I want to go. I thanked her. Thanked her. Then I stood up, kissed the top of her head like I still loved her, and walked to our bedroom. Behind the door, I sat on the edge of the bed and pulled out my phone. Tony was a friend of a friend, someone I met years ago at a barbecue when I accidentally spilled beer on his loafers. Back then, we talked about classic cars and engine swaps. Now I had a different reason to call him. I texted him one line. Need to talk. Quietly. About property and divorce. He responded in under 2 minutes. Come by tomorrow. Bring everything. I looked around the bedroom we'd built together. The headboard I made with my own hands. The dresser I'd refinished during lockdown. Her yoga mat still rolled in the corner like none of this was happening. She expected me to cry, to beg, to thank her. But tomorrow, I'd be meeting with a lawyer. And this time, I would be the one sliding papers across the table. Tony Delgado's office smelled like old leather and strong coffee. The blinds were drawn, the kind of place where people showed up when they were done playing nice. His receptionist barely looked up when I walked in, just pointed at the door with a pen. Tony stood when I came in. Firm handshake, square jaw, gray at the temples, the kind of guy who didn't need to raise his voice to be respected. You brought the paperwork? He asked. I nodded and dropped a thick manila folder onto his desk. He opened it and started flipping through like he already knew what to look for. Pay stubs, contract work, receipts, loan docs, emails, text screenshots. I'd spent the last 2 nights pulling it all together, double-checking everything, organizing it by date. I wanted him to see what I saw, not just a marriage falling apart, but a setup. A deliberate, coordinated ambush. This is solid, he muttered. Real solid. He paused at the refinance paperwork, tapped his finger twice on the copy of the house deed. She's not on this? Nope, I said. She was when we bought it. Tanked her credit with some nonsense 3 years ago. I refinanced to lower the rate. Bank said she couldn't qualify, so I did it alone. Tony leaned back in his chair and nodded slowly, like he was genuinely impressed. You're ahead of where most guys are when they walk in here. I've been paying attention, I said. He sat up, laced his fingers. You've got a clean shot to keep the house. Might have to give her a cut of the equity depending on how the judge sees it, but the title's yours. And the receipts you kept? That's good. Shows investment, maintenance, financial contribution. Most people don't think to keep this kind of paper trail. She thinks I'm flat broke, I said, leaning forward. She thinks she's doing me a favor with a $10,000 check and a push out the door. Tony chuckled once. That'll be fun. He paused. But just so you know, this isn't going to be clean. You're going to war. She's not walking away without swinging. I met his eyes. Bring it on. We talked another hour. Strategies, timelines, steps. He laid it all out straight. No sugarcoating, no cheerleading. Just facts. I liked that about him. He told me to keep quiet for now, to let her keep thinking she was in control. On my way out, I called into the shop and told Javier I was coming by. The new branch we'd opened on 43rd had only been running a couple months, but things were already picking up. When I pulled in, the guys were busy on a lifted F-150 and a 71 Chevelle with no hood. Grease on their knuckles, music low on the radio. My kind of place. Javier saw me and grinned. "Boss back in town?" "Just checking in," I said. "You break anything while I was out?" He laughed and shook his head. "Nope. But we did finish the job for that guy with the Charger. Got it done early, so I bumped it up." "Good," I said. I clapped his shoulder and walked back into the office. My desk was just how I left it. Invoices in one pile, work orders in another. The crew didn't know what was going on at home, and I didn't plan on telling them. They thought I was unemployed, sitting at home in my coveralls, spiraling. But I was leading a crew of 5 and working overtime. I had a business account, a payroll to manage, and enough saved up to float the shop for 6 months if things went south. That wasn't a man with nothing. That was a man with leverage. Back home, she still acted sweet, asked if I'd thought more about her offer, kept playing the part of the gentle ex in the making. She thought she had this locked up, but every time she smiled across the kitchen island, every time she dropped hints about moving forward peacefully, I thought about the paperwork in Tony's office, the contract copies, the receipts, the deed. She thought she was holding the cards. She had no idea the game had already changed. She brought it up over breakfast, like it was nothing. "I spoke to a realtor yesterday," she said, stirring her coffee with that casual tone she used when she was testing the waters. "Just getting a sense of the market. Inventory's tight, but prices are strong. We should probably list soon before rates go up again." She didn't look at me when she said it, just took a sip, waiting for me to nod like a good little washed-up husband. I set my fork down gently. "My lawyer will need the equity records first." She blinked once. "Your what?" I wiped my mouth with the napkin, leaned back in my chair. "Tony Delgado. He's handling the divorce now." Silence. For a second, she didn't react, like the words didn't quite register. Then her face twitched, just a little, and everything cracked open. "You're lawyering up?" she snapped. "Why?" I raised an eyebrow. "You really want to go there?" She shoved her chair back so fast it scraped the floor, then started pacing. "You lied to me," she said, turning on her heel. "You let me believe you were broke. You told me you got laid off." "No," I said calmly. "I let you talk. You made your own assumptions." "That's manipulation," she barked. "You let me think you were struggling. And you let your mom plot how to shove me out of the house so you and Melissa could move in with a baby that isn't mine," I said, voice flat. She froze mid-step. I watched it hit her, the sudden realization that I knew everything, every word from that conversation she never thought I heard. Her mouth opened like she might deny it, but nothing came out. "You've been spying on me?" I tilted my head. "You moved into the guest room and started planning a new life behind my back. Don't pretend like you're the victim." Her face flushed. She looked wild, not sad, not heartbroken, just pissed, cornered. The fake sympathy she'd been milking the past few weeks? Gone. "I gave you a chance to leave clean," she snapped. "You could have taken the money and moved on, but now..." "But now," I cut in, "you're going to deal with Tony. He's good, knows the law better than either of us, and he already has every receipt, document, and email I've collected." Her jaw clenched. "You think this makes you look strong? What, you want a medal for playing detective?" I stood up, grabbed my keys off the counter. "Number, I just want what's mine, and I'm not letting you or your mom or your girlfriend scam me out of it." I left her standing in the kitchen, hands balled into fists, lips trembling, not from sadness, but rage. She wasn't used to this version of me, the version that didn't fold, the version that didn't give in just to keep the peace. Later that night, I was back in the garage, checking oil filters for a weekend side job, when my phone buzzed. Voicemail. Blocked number. I played it on speaker while wiping my hands. Darren, it's Mrs. Harris. I know I'm the last person you want to hear from, but please don't press charges. The money from the equity transfers, it wasn't meant to hurt you. We just thought, we thought we were helping her get a clean start. Just, please. No police. Call me back. We can work something out. I stared at the phone for a long second, then hit delete. She'd underestimated me. That was her mistake. All of them did. They thought I was alone, broken, a man backed into a corner. But I wasn't cornered. I was loading the chamber. 6 weeks later, it was done. I stood outside the courthouse with the final decree in my hand, the sky gray and humid like it couldn't decide whether to rain or not. I didn't feel relief exactly, just stillness. Like the dust had finally settled, and now I could actually see what the hell I'd been standing in. I kept the house. Tony made sure of that. Between the deed, the receipts, and the work I put into it, the judge had no problem siding with me. She got a small payout for her contributions, which Tony negotiated down to the dollar. No alimony, no drama. She tried to fight at first. Big tears, emotional monologues, the whole performance. Claimed she was blindsided, said I'd ambushed her. Didn't matter. Tony didn't flinch. Neither did I. Melissa never moved in. Word got around fast. Something about a falling out, something about pressure and not ready. Maybe Melissa thought she was signing up for a fresh start with a safe landing. Instead, she ended up with a burnt bridge and a mortgage worth of regrets. I didn't bother asking. Her mom? Gone. No more drop-ins, no more sideways glances. I heard she tried to talk to Tony once. Asked if we could settle privately. He laughed her right out of the office. Funny thing is, once the plan fell apart, nobody came to clean it up. No calls, no apologies, no attempts to explain. They just vanished like the whole thing had been a temporary glitch in their perfect lives. And me? I got to work. The garage became mine again. Not just a place to sit and stew, but a place to build. I put in new shelving, cleaned up the old workbench, organized every bolt, every wrench, every socket set. Weekends became project days. I tore up the busted flooring in the basement and laid fresh concrete. Put in better lighting. Hung a TV down there and turned it into a real space. Not just for storage, but for living. I found an old dartboard at a yard sale, hung it up next to a mini fridge. It wasn't about distracting myself. It was about reclaiming the damn space. She expected me to disappear, to pack a duffel and fade into a motel somewhere with takeout boxes and missed job interviews. Instead, I stayed. And every wall I painted, every cabinet I screwed in, every inch I reclaimed, it was like stitching myself back together. People noticed too. Javier stopped by once to drop off a torque wrench and just stood there, staring around the basement. "Damn," he said, rubbing the back of his neck. "This doesn't even look like the same house." "Doesn't feel like it either," I said. My neighbor Greg offered to help redo the deck come spring. Said it was nice seeing someone actually do something with a divorce, instead of just letting it eat them alive. I nodded and offered him a beer. Thing is, I didn't just walk away with my name still on the deed. I walked away with the truth, with clarity, with my head high. And she? She lost everything she thought she had lined up. The house, the plan, the backup partner. Melissa ghosted. Her mom went quiet. Even the realtor stopped calling once the sale fell through. I didn't have to burn it all down. They did that themselves. All I did was stand in the ashes and build something better. I live quiet now. No drama. No texts from numbers I don't recognize. No one trying to bait me into old arguments. Just routine. Saturday mornings I'm at the shop early. We run a free engine basics class for local teens. Nothing fancy, just hands-on stuff. Oil changes, spark plug gaps, torque wrenches. Most of them show up because they're bored or court-ordered. But a few stay late, ask real questions, get their hands dirty without flinching. Those are the ones I stick around for. Tuesdays I grill. Doesn't matter if it's raining or freezing or one of those brutal Missouri heat waves. I'm out back flipping steaks, watching the smoke curl off the edge of the garage. Sometimes I eat alone. Sometimes Javier swings by with his kid. Once or twice, even Greg came through with a six-pack and a lawn chair. The house is quiet, but it doesn't feel empty. Tony's file stays in the safe behind the tool cabinet. Not out of fear. I'm not paranoid, but I believe in being prepared. It's got everything. Court docs, transcripts, even a typed list of what I'd do different if I ever saw red flags again. You live, you learn. Funny thing is, people say I look lighter now, happier, like something got lifted off my shoulders. Maybe they're right. I don't wake up dreading conversations anymore. I don't rehearse fake smiles or pretend not to hear whispers through the vents. I made it through. All of it. And I'm still standing. Not what they expected. They thought they could box me in, quiet me down, ship me off with a handshake and a check. But getting underestimated? That was the gift. It let me listen when they thought I wasn't paying attention. It gave me time to gather receipts while they planned my exit. It bought me the space to strike back with precision instead of rage. And when I fought, they never saw it coming. Now, when I pull open the garage in the morning, when I smell motor oil and sawdust and fresh coffee, I don't feel like a man who lost anything. I feel like a man who got his life back. Simple, steady, mine.
YouTube picked this for you. Tap it. Let's see if they guessed right.